Hi there. You are listening to A Founder's Life, and I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. My guests and myself share our entrepreneurial journey and our methods for a balanced life. I'm joined here today by Laurel Mintz. Laurel, thank you for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Laurel Mintz. I'm the CEO and founder of two companies. One is called Elevate My Brand. It's a digital and experiential marketing agency. And the other is a venture fund called Fabric VC, of which I am the GP.
Well, thank you. And do you want to talk a little about your journey that got you to here? And I think Fabric's quite new, but Elevate Your Brand you've had for a while.
I have, yes. Well, I started my career as a corporate M&A attorney. I have an MBA in digital marketing as well, and I practiced at a firm called Covington and Burling up in San Francisco for just a hot second. And as is wont to do, the universe had a different plan for me. My dad got sick. He's healthy now, but I ended up stepping in to take over his interest in a company called Bassett Furniture. Are you familiar with the Bassett brand, Leo?
Sounds familiar.
It's a big national chain out of North Carolina where all the furniture companies are from. So at 26, I stepped in and was interim CEO there. It's where I got the entrepreneurial bug. We sold that company in 2009, which is when I started Elevate. And that's now been around for 16 years. Hopefully I don't look it. We've got good doctors here in LA. And this new venture fund is a spinoff of Elevate because we realized of the 400 and some odd companies we'd worked with, over 200 were diverse led and almost 40% of those had raised capital. So we kept seeing this startup raise exit model. I've been lucky enough to be an LP in multiple funds and saw the impact that investing in venture can have on generational and exponential wealth. And I saw the numbers and thought, if not me, who? If not now, when? I got to go make change in categories where I can.
Right, you're able to really influence the right kind of founders and help them. And you've got the background to provide the added value rather than just being done money.
That's exactly right. On about a quarter of the deals we write cash checks to, we match with sweat equity on the agency side so we can really, to your point, control the narrative of success of those brands.
And what's a typical customer look for you in your Elevate Your Brand?
Kind of a loaded question because we've been doing it for so long. We've worked in so many different fields. Am I allowed to curse on this podcast, by the way?
Of course.
Okay, good. So what I always say is my favorite clients are those that have not fucked up their marketing yet. So I don't have to come in and fix everything. But we've worked with everyone from baby startups to huge brands like Geico, Verizon, Zendesk, Sprinkler, both large public and private companies. Obviously, when we work with those bigger companies, we are doing a smaller sliver of the work. Whereas when we work with more startup or mid-tier companies, we get to kind of come in and holistically manage most of the day-to-day omni-channel marketing channels. But yeah, that's the short answer is someone that's not fucked up their marketing yet.
You don't go in and fix it if they have?
We do, of course, but I can't tell you how many times people have come to us from other agencies and firms who have done them dirty, so to speak, and then they come to the agency world or the marketing world in general with a bad taste in their mouth. And the truth is that marketing, as you well know, is a super powerful tool when done the right way, but not everyone does it the right way. And a lot of firms are not really full service, even though they end up selling all these different verticals to their clients. They're maybe only really good at one thing. And so that's really what we see more often than not is a firm that's really good at PR will also say, hey, we can do your social, we can do your creative and content and your SEO and all these other pieces that they're simply not expert at. And that's when the challenges arise for the clients.
Makes sense. And talking about family next. So what does family look like for you?
I'm very lucky with my family. I am born and bred in LA. So I'm literally Laurel from Laurel Canyon, as you know. My dad was a hippie in the 60s, lived in a commune. My parents actually lived 3 blocks from us here, which is both a blessing and a curse. I have aging parents, so we have to take care of them quite a bit. In fact, just ended up rushing my dad to the ER. He's fine last week. So it's good that we're near to them, but it's also extended family. I really consider my teams to be part of my family. My husband, of course, who I'll be celebrating 12 years together with, and 12 years marriage and 15 years together, which again is so wild. These numbers, just like, you had been married for a long time, just wild when you start throwing out those numbers. So family to me is both the family that you are born into and the family that you create. An incredible group of of people around me that are also friends that I consider family.
Lovely. And how about your four-legged family?
Yes, obviously. Well, I have a younger sister, so sometimes I call her a four-legged. No, I'm just kidding. So I have a younger sister. She's 6 years younger than me. She has three dogs, and I have two dogs, and they are like the loves of my life. I don't have kids, as you know. So the fur babies are definitely my babies. I've got a King Charles Spaniel named Miso, and a mutt named Twizzler. All our dogs are named after food. And we took the big one into the vet. We were like, "What kind of breed is she?" And the vet looked at us and said, "Dog," because she's like literally 12% of like every breed you can imagine. And we're like, "Got it. Okay, cool." And we did do the swab, and she's like literally 12% of like every breed. But they're just the sweetest animals. You don't have dogs, right? You don't have any animals?
No, two children's enough for me.
Good children. Yes, I get
And
that.
the nice
I went the
thing
other
is,
direction.
the nice thing is the children actually leave home at some point, but then I can start traveling.
You are a consummate traveler. We travel quite a bit too, and it gets expensive because we have fancy dog sitters that come to the house to watch them so that they can stay in their own environments. And they live the life of Riley, so they really do.
Nice. What do you like to do for health? How's health look for you in terms of fitness, nutrition, whatever side it looks like for you?
Yeah, I got a few extra pounds on me right now because it's holiday season and there's lots of cookies and chocolates and things being delivered on every day. So I'm like, time to get back on that train. But fitness is a non-negotiable for me. As a founder, I think your brain is going in so many different directions all the time that if you don't have a consistent fitness routine, at least for me, like I lose my mind. So I have to work out at least 5 days a week. And I prefer high intensity interval training or something that's got some sort of intense, modality to it, because that's like the only thing that actually helps me turn my brain off. So I have to be like so focused almost to the point of breaking so that I'm not thinking about anything else in that moment. And I'm just purely focused on, God, I got to get through this hour. I just have to get through this. So today I did Pilates Plus, which is on the Mega Reformers, which is like the most intense Pilates. I do hot spin, which is batshit crazy. It's like mostly athletes. It's insane. I love it. I do hot yoga. I do boxing. I love Rumble. You get to hit stuff when you're mad or you need to get any of your shit out. And then we have great hiking near us, so I'm always on the hills there as well. Usually what I'll do is if I'm not in a hot class, like for example today, I'll go to Pilates. I'll do that. It's a 45-minute class. I'll turn my sauna on before I leave. And then I'll come home and I'll do 20 minutes answering emails in the sauna so I can get the hot mechanism as well. So I take it very seriously. And luckily we have the sauna and the jacuzzi and other things in the house to help us kind of get our health and wellness together. And if we don't do that, we go to the Korean spot. We've done the hot and cold plunges. I love that. That's like my favorite.
And the 20-minute work, because you can just about do that before your phone now shuts down from overheating.
That's right. You've been there. Absolutely. Absolutely. Or you keep it really low in the sauna so the heat rises and you sit on the floor. So yeah, I think that's what I do on the health and wellness side. And on the nutrition side, I cook all the time. I take a bunch of different supplements very regularly, including metformin. Have you heard the research on this one? This is a really interesting drug.
I've heard some podcasts on it, but why don't you talk about it?
I mean, I can't say I'm the expert at it. Actually, my husband was the one that found the articles and asked his doctor about it. But it's basically like a longevity drug. I don't think that that's how it was originally intended. I think it's a diabetes drug. But what it purports to do is to clear out free radicals and bad cells in your body. And supposedly it means that you have a longer health span so that towards the end of your life, you don't get to the place where you don't have a quality of life, which to me is the most important thing. I don't want to live till 93 and have the last 10 years of my life be, as an invalid. I want to make sure that I can be healthy and enjoying the fruits of my labor as long as possible. I'd love to just go in my sleep like that, right? And so supposedly that's what this drug does.
She wrote an article recently, a blog on health span versus longevity. And
totally.
Yeah, I'm completely on that as well. I have no interest in living to 120 or much prefer to live to 90 or 100 and be healthy until the last minute.
Exactly. Someone actually tried to sell me an annuity that purported that we were going to live to 160 years old. They were trying to sell me an annuity based on that lifespan. I was like, I don't think so, but that's cute.
Yeah.
And also, God forbid. Yeah, God forbid. So that's my routine. I cook a lot. we try and eat pretty healthy. I mean, we do have our indulgences. I definitely like drink and do other vices, but yeah, I think we're pretty healthy all in all. I sleep a lot. That's the other good thing. I track my sleep. I track my water. I take it. Have you seen these bottles? This is my like favorite thing to gift people, the hydrate bottles. It's gamified and it's connected to your phone and whoever else is in your network. And basically you try and chase them on the wheel to get to hydration by the end of the day faster than them. It's pretty great, especially for elderly parents who don't necessarily drink enough liquids.
I'd get one of those, but you'd be really unhappy because I think I'd win.
Oh yeah, you're a hydration master.
I drank 2 liters of water within the first half an hour of waking up. I drink a lot during the day. Hydration is for me a big part of my routine.
Absolutely, and that's a good point. Like I wake up and the first thing I do is chug as much water as I can, like because your body loses so much during the night, right?
Yeah, and sleep. Got the.
I have the Withings mat. It goes underneath your mattress and it connects, and there's a duality to it. So my husband can track his and I track mine, and it's connected to our scale, and our house is fully smart. So everything is connected, although she doesn't listen to me that well, I have to say.
Yeah, I've got the Withings scale as well. It's,
Yeah, I love all that stuff. Better living through technology for sure.
Although I have to tell you, as an athlete, that took me a long time to admit I was an athlete, but I definitely can admit it now. I just did my first marathon last month. But
you're crazy.
We've got a new health app I'm launching with my daughter, I think I mentioned to you, that's coming out on the 1st of Jan. And the interesting thing is, we'll look across the trends on all these kind of things, because you talk about all these smart devices you've got, and I've got the same kind of things. And there's nothing that actually tells me what's going on. So
what does that mean? Exactly.
Yeah, so, I'm tracking my workouts, I'm tracking my sleep, I'm tracking my weight, I'm tracking intermittent fasting that I'm a big believer in. I'm tracking all these different things, but and it's all synced to Apple Health because it's all on my phone.
Yep.
But there's no one device that truly looks at trends across all of these things.
Isn't that what your doctor's
one of those things we'll look at. Yeah. Well, so our app is traditionally for, initially it's for what I would call the average Joe. So sort of, most people. But we will pretty early on also build in functionality to really look across trends with sort of athletes as well. So it's sort of able to help anyone. And AI is built at its core. We sort of started that from day one. So it's really able to look at that, analyze and things like that as well.
Very cool.
And what do you like to do for fun?
Who has time for that? No, I'm just kidding. Fun is super important. We go to a lot of shows. We like live music and live theater. My husband is a fanatic of musicals, so that's really fun. I'm going to Drag Queen Christmas tomorrow night. That should be really fun with my sister and some friends. And I cook I find cooking to be very relaxing. And we're going to do like a big New Year's feast with a bunch of friends. And take my cocktailing very seriously. I think fitness is fun. I really enjoy that piece of it. And then of course, traveling. Like there's nothing like getting out of the country and experiencing different cultures and not being so myopically focused. And so like, ethnocentric, I guess is the word, which I think as U.S. citizens we tend to be. So I really enjoy getting outside the country and seeing what the world has to offer.
Lovely. Where are some of your favorite places to go?
We're about to build a house in Todos Santos, which I'm really excited about. So that's going to be our next big project. We're going there in February to find the plot and actually start in on that. Japan was incredible. We just went there right before the pandemic for both of our 40th birthdays. We went to Japan and Spain side by side, like within a month of each other, which was so interesting because like Spain is like sexy and hot and like Latin culture, and Japan is like structured and processed and beautiful in a completely different way. So it was really interesting to see the juxtaposition of those two things. But I would say like most restaurants, we don't often go back to places because there's so much to explore in the world. And I think we're still very early in our journey of exploring the world. Cabo, obviously, Todos Santos, we're about to build our next home. That's a place that we love and return to frequently. Other than that, can't say I go back to many places outside the US because every opportunity is it's a time to explore something new, you know?
Great. I think someone introduced me to an app, nothing fancy, but an app called Bean,
Mm,
Bean. And
okay.
it's just a fun little app that you can track where you've been.
I love that. It's like
And it,
the map scratchers you used to have, like old school.
yeah, so you can track by country, you can track, for example, in the US by state. It's quite a fun little app just to
Hmm,
look at where you've been. And you
I love
can, if
that.
you really want, track where you want to go and things like that as well.
I love the name
Nice,
too.
simple
It's
one.
good marketing, good branding.
Yeah. And now the question is, if you're not doing your HIIT workouts, can you actually stop working? Can you turn off for any period of time, or are you
I'm
always working?
on, yeah, I'm on a lot. I think I'm better at turning it off now than I used to be. Because you have to be like your brain just can't function. It's like having all the operating systems on all the time. Like at some point, bugs happen and things will start to short out. And I believe that about your brain system as an operating system, your body as an operating system as well. So I think, yeah, the workouts are really important. I can feel it when I go 2, 3 days without it. I'm just a grumpy, not so nice person to be around, as my husband will attest to. Um, but yeah, I think if I can get outside and like be in the sunshine, get a little vitamin D, that helps a lot too. But other than that, I need to be able to turn it off with fitness and cooking. Cooking's another thing, like, you're moving your hands, so your brain's not working kind of thing for me. And I have to admit, which I hate to admit because most people are so anti, but I really love television. I love to just zone out and watch a shitty show. I have to admit it.
I enjoy that. Love watching some absolute crap at night. That, to be
Garbage.
honest, I really don't care if I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, for sure. I'm usually multitasking if I'm being honest,
Yeah,
but
got the
uh,
laptop open. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Or yeah, my iPhone multi-screening it. But yeah, I love having just some like white noise in the background happening.
yeah. And you talk about being outside, and especially where you live. I think one of those things that people really don't realize with LA, and I didn't actually realize until we moved here, was all the hiking.
Oh
If you
yeah.
look at a map of LA, it's massive amounts of greenery. People
Hmm.
think of LA as maybe the beaches, or they think of it as Hollywood or downtown. Actually, it's an extremely green place, and the amount of hiking you can do is fun.
Hmm.
I'm assuming
And
you do a lot with the dogs.
I do. The big dog, the little one's a little bit of a princess, so she'll hike for like 10 minutes and then she'll scratch at your knee for you to pick her up, and I'm not gonna hike like that. But the big one is a beast. She can do any hike, any length. She doesn't know what the word tired means. Um, but the best part about being born and raised in LA is that the secret hikes, and better than even the secret hikes, the secret parking areas for the hikes, so you don't have to be in the mishmash of people at the bottom of most of these hills where it's like a mess to find parking. Maybe I'll take you sometime.
Uh-huh. I'd ask you to share, but it wouldn't be a secret anymore.
I'm not sharing that live on anything, but I would share it with you. I like you.
Thank you. I look forward to it. What's been a pivotal moment in your life, or both or personal or business, whichever feels pivotal to you?
I think the first most pivotal moment for me was taking over my dad's company. Like that was not a path I ever thought that I was going to take. And I share this very openly. I'm pretty sure I've shared it with you before as well. When I stepped into that company, he was fully over leveraged. It was not a healthy company. It was a full turnaround, which, at 26 with basically a bunch of letters behind my name in 1 year in the real world was not something that I was trained to do. So I think that was the first really pivotal moment of like feet to the fire. How are you going to show up in the world and solve a problem that you didn't start, frankly, but you need to finish? I think that's pivotal moment number one for me.
Does that mean there's a number two?
I mean, there's so many pivotal moments. Like I would say meeting my husband was a really pivotal moment. I always thought I was going to be single. I was dating till I think we met I met him when I was 18 because he dated my best friend who I met in college. And I didn't pay any attention to him. And then I re-met him again at her engagement party because they stayed friends and I was in the wedding. And like I said, we've now been together for 15 years and he's just such a true partner. And so that relationship and the re-meeting of him was a really pivotal moment in my life to date. So I'm so grateful for that and for her for bringing us together and for approving the relationship because we did it the right way. We're like, are you sure this is okay? I know this is weird. Like you dated. And she was like, yep, gave you my blessing. And we're still really close with her and her husband and their kids. So that's probably pivotal moment number 2. I mean, life has so many pivotal moments, don't you think?
It does.
For you, I would imagine your kids being born, every business you start is a pivotal moment. The first time you buy a house, like all these, these things are things that you need to look at and celebrate your successes.
Definitely. And for us, it's also add in moving to America, like moving halfway around the world.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
And I think, and then you could argue we've all got before, pre and post COVID.
Right. Yes. COVID, the universe has pivotal moments that it provides to you for sure. COVID definitely being one of them. And it also impacts how you see the rest of the world and what happens with your businesses and your relationships. Like I had a lot of friends that got divorced during the pandemic and had pandemic babies and like all kinds of things, it was definitely pivotal. I'm looking for a different word. Catalytic, I would say, is the right word for the pandemic, either positive or negative.
Yeah, and I think especially with business,
Yeah, it was really hard on the agency
side. It was reinvent or die.
Totally. We shut down our physical office space. We didn't know if we were going to survive, and a lot of businesses felt that way. We were not I think marketing is a really impactful and important part of any business, but at that moment in time, marketing wasn't really that important to most companies, right? It kind of grew back up into import when people needed to re-message and things like that. But in the very beginning, everyone was like, we need to pause everything. And I was like, oh shit, what does this mean for us long term? But I think I'm pretty good at pivoting, and luckily we were able to survive and thrive again.
How's a balanced life look for you? And obviously balance can go up and down, but overall, how's a balanced life look for you?
I think balance is bullshit, frankly. Like, I don't believe it really exists. I think there's one thing's going well and then the other thing is whack, and then this is going well and then that is out of whack. So I think it's more like a whack-a-mole, right? Like, what are you going to hit now? How much time do you have? How many hands do you have? And how many, things do you have to hit those items with? I don't really believe in balance, other than I know when I am like too far out of balance, to your question earlier. And that's when I need to be like, okay, I just need like a good cry, or I need a really strong cocktail, or I just need to get out of the house, or whatever that looks like in that moment. I think that's more my answer to the question of balance, because I think it's bullshit.
You could argue part of balance for you is getting in that HIIT workout most days.
Yeah, for sure. Drinking enough water, getting enough. If I don't get enough sleep, there's no amount of anything else that's going to work for me. Like, I am not kind. I'm angsty. Like, I'm just like a very angry human when I don't get enough sleep. So that to me is the number one most important thing for balance in my life, I would say.
How much sleep do you like to get a night?
I mean, how many hours are in the no, for me, I'm usually at like 7.5 to 8.5 hours.
Nice.
I love
my
my sleep.
Sleep is one of those things that is underestimated. It is, it's the time the body heals.
And it's tied to so many issues long term, so many disease states too. So yeah, my husband is the same way. We do not mess around when it comes to sleep. He's an even better sleeper than I am. I think he needs like 9 hours a night. He's serious.
Okay, I could not sleep 9 hours a night. I like the idea that it's not happening. But I do notice my performance if I sleep less than 7.
For sure.
Both mental performance and physical performance. If I have less than 7 hours sleep, I notice it. So for me,
absolutely.
But realistically, 7 to 7.5 hours is sort of, I'd love to get 8.5. It just, my mind gets too busy. That's my problem. I wake up and go, okay, let's get up.
My mind's busy at night, and that's my problem. Like, that's never, my issue is never, staying asleep. My issue has always been falling asleep, because I get in bed and my brain's like, did you do this? What about this? Let's make that, and I'm like, God damn, I need to like go to sleep right now. So I think I've done a better job of calming my mind before bed, which is also why I like having the TV on, just white noise just going, and I like falling asleep to that, which some people would argue is not great because it's, it's energy coming at you, but it works for me. It works for both of us.
Yeah, I actually, night's not a problem for me. I start very early, so at night I'm tired. I can actually fall asleep pretty well. For me, I wake up and my mind is like, okay, let's get up and do stuff.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm better now than I used to be. I have to be honest. I think as you get older and you have your shit together more, like on across every level, right? Like your relationship's solid, your financial state is solid, your businesses are in order, your physical health and well-being is in order. I think that as I've gotten older and gotten those things more aligned, I've had an easier time falling asleep at night because I don't worry as much. But I mean, I worry a lot. It's my natural state as a Jewish woman, I think. But yeah, I've done a better job of calming that.
And is there anything else you'd like to share?
God, how much time do you have? Anything else I'd like to share? I think one of the things that I always get asked, and you and I worked together at Nifty for some time, and I get conversations and questions around balance and around like best practices and around like bits of wisdom. What's your big bits of wisdom or big takeaways? If you could tell yourself X, Y, and Z at age 16, what would that be? And so my statement is the same always, which is that everybody is faking it. So don't let anyone intimidate you. I don't think anyone fully has it together at any given time. I think some people are better about putting on their masks. And of course, practice, gets you to a much stronger position. But when I talk to young kids all the time, I tell them, and adults, frankly, because I have conversations with I probably have 8 meetings to 16 meetings a day, right? It's crazy. So think about the volume of people I talk to on a weekly basis. And I'd say a good 10% of those are people just looking for information, right? And so I often give that piece of advice, like just don't let anyone intimidate you. Lots of people are entrepreneurs trying to start their new thing or trying to start a new relationship or start a new career path, whatever that looks like. Just go for it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You fail? Oh, well, then you figure out what's next, right? I think I'm like the fail fast kind of person.
And success comes from us learning from the failures.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't learn as much from the successes. Definitely learn more from the failures.
Yeah, you don't come across many successful entrepreneurs who haven't had failures.
No, but they all look like everyone assumes that you're like an overnight success, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm a 16-year overnight success. Yeah. It's a funny misnomer, isn't it?
It is. It's it's the nature of entrepreneurship. It's there's nothing easy about the journey with Nifty, which as you said, we worked on together and worked with lots of kids. I often say to the kids, don't become an entrepreneur if you think it's the easy path.
Yeah,
it ain't.
No.
You'll make lots more money probably in the short term, and you'll have a much more peaceful life if you go get a job somewhere. Why don't you ask the question you wanted to ask?
Yes. So I was wondering if you think that you would ever or could ever be happy as a W-2. Like you have lived your life as an entrepreneur, as have I, pretty much since day one. Do you think you could actually be happy as a non-entrepreneur? Non-entrepreneur? Non-entrepreneur.
It's an interesting question. The first thing I'd say is I think I'd be a horrible employee.
I always say that.
I mean, I've only ever had one job, which was I spent 3 months selling advertising in some absolute crap publication no one wanted to read. That was my first job in the mid-90s. I already had my own business before, but it's when I came back from university. And it was great. I made a fortune. I mean, it was mind-numbingly dumb. I mean, it was so boring. But that's about the only job I've done. Beyond that, I did actually apply for a job when I came back from university with what at the time was one of the top tech companies in the UK. And like a friend of the family had introduced me to someone pretty senior. So I'd met like the managing director of the company or his number two. And I'd had a great interview and I thought, okay, I'm going to get this job. And I thought, perfect. My plan was to do the job for 6 months or a year and then get my business going again. And they sent me for psychometric testing. They were into doing psychometric testing.
Yeah.
And the results came back and I get a call and he goes to me, we're not going to hire you. I'm like, why not? My results really that bad? And he goes, because the results said that you want to own the company, not work for it. And he said, the problem with that is we're going to spend a year, 2 years training you because these things are like management trainee schemes kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So we're training you, investing in you, and you have zero interest in being here. And I was like, that comment, to be honest, is pretty accurate.
Wow. That's fascinating. Now, my follow-up question to that is, do you believe that everyone falls into their entrepreneurship journey organically? Like, do you think that everyone's where they're supposed to be in life?
It's an interesting question. I think I'd answer that in two ways, because there's two completely different ways of looking at that. One way that could be answered is, can you learn to be an entrepreneur rather than it being sort of in your DNA?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can. So I think you can, an entrepreneurship can be in your bones, in your DNA, in your, or you can learn it and come to it later. I think you can.
I totally disagree with you on that, but we can talk about that.
That's good, because to be honest, if everyone agreed on the same thing, life would be very boring.
Well, I think you need to have there's like a drive and an energy when you're an entrepreneur. And I don't think that energy can be taught simply. Like, I just don't think you have that, or you don't have that,
But I think that partly is a young entrepreneur, I would agree with you. But some people might come to it later with a lot of experience and not have the same kind of drive, but make that up with massive experience. So I think there's a mix. Now, the other way of answering your question is a more esoteric answer, which is, what does the universe have in store for you?
Yeah. Are we living our purpose kind of thing?
And I actually am a big believer as I've got older and I've got more spiritual. I'm actually also Jewish, but I've actually become more spiritual and less religious as I've got older. And I do believe that follow the path the universe has in store. Who the hell knows where the universe is going to take you? But, sometimes you just got to blindly follow and see where you end up.
I like that answer. Yeah, I like that answer. I think it's interesting when you look backwards, because in the moment of running my dad's stores, I was like, my life is over. My path is broken. I thought I was supposed to be on this corner office partner track in the law firm. But now looking back years and years later, I know that was totally supposed to be a part of my journey, because where that not had happened, I would not be where I am today, right? And wouldn't realize that I was an entrepreneur and want to continue down that path. So I think it's always hindsight's 20/20, right?
So again, that's what I'd say, the universe working out what was right for you.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's certainly put me in your path, so I'm doing something right.
Thank you. And that was fun. And how can people find you?
We've got two platforms: elevatemybrand.com for the website for the marketing agency, and fabricvc.com for the fund. And of course, same on all the socials.
And so for the fund, what kind of entrepreneurship find you?
We only invest in diverse founders in the consumer tech and future of categories. Future of is a pretty wide aperture by nature, by intention. So future of healthcare, future of fintech, future of workspace. And then our other big bucket is consumer tech on that side.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Our conversations are always enlightening, because I find that they're like half hardcore operating business focus, and the other half is like very spiritual and esoteric. And that's exactly the kind of entrepreneur that I am, and exactly who you are. So I really always enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think it's always nice to have a mix.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, tell your friends, and leave a review. Thank you.